Okay. I'm live for the second time tonight because I tried to just do the webcam feature with YouTube Studio and sometimes that works, but this time it didn't work because my webcam just disconnected itself randomly. Like I swear I don't know why it does that. Like I'm not touching the table, I'm not touching the webcam, I'm not touching anything on the table. I'm just sitting in my chair with my headset. So I don't know why it just disconnects itself randomly. And it does that even when I'm on video chat with my mom. Like that is frustrating. I hate it when technology just stops working for no explainable reason. But anyway, I was talking in my previous video about reputation and the value of an honest reputation. And I think the bottom line is that this applies in many aspects. So when you hire someone for a job, you have to be able to trust that they will show up for work, which is sadly more often not the case. And luckily, I'm a person who does show up for work and do my job, and try when you try to have a roommate and you try to uh, you have an agreement with them that they'll help you pay the rent or bills, you hope that they will do that. But as many know, in my last case with my roommate River, that did not happen, you know? And here's the thing about it, you know, I feel like I've really lost trust in a lot of humanity. Not that I ever have much trust in humanity, but, you know, there's very few people that I trust. Like I was saying, I trust my mother. When I have to pay for something for her and she says she'll pay me back, she does. Um, and so she's a very trustworthy person, just as I'm a trustworthy person, and it's exceptionally rare. And so right now, if I had to think of who my best friends are, it's my mother, it's my friend Pafo, and also Jamie, who I haven't talked to recently. Sorry, I haven't talked to you much, Jamie, but I have been exceptionally busy with work and then other things too. But you think that you know people and you think you can trust them, but then you find out that they were lying to you, or you find out that for whatever reason they're not the same person they used to be. And it's really, really sad when that happens. And I've been thinking a lot about this lately. I've been really thinking a lot about this because I read a lot of stories. Uh, I'll just say this. So, I'm a member of the Trans Woman Support Network on Facebook. And so I just read people's stories in there. And when I see people's stories on there, as well as other places online, I read stories about people who end up getting divorced. It's very strange because there's so many people who get divorced because one of the people in the marriage, they come out as trans, and then the other person doesn't want to be married to them anymore because they're trans. And it's been on my mind a lot lately. Okay, it's been on my mind in two major ways. First of all, I'm glad that I was never married. I'm glad that I'm a 35 year old single virgin. I'm really glad because I feel like I dodged several bullets that way. So being autistic, transgender, and asexual definitely has its perks. Um, but I think how sad is it? Because okay, so get this. Because I read the comments. I got in a fight with some people on some comments on a video, and I try not to get that dramatic on social media. But here's what's strange. So on the one hand, people say, "Oh, well, trans women aren't women; that they're really men." But on the other hand, You also have women divorcing their husbands who come out as trans women because they don't want to be married to a woman. And I'm thinking, wait, but they're still a man, but they're also a woman. Like, seriously. So it's like, on the one hand, with trans women, people will say, "Oh, you're not a real woman because you weren't born as one." But at the same time, "Oh, well, I'm divorcing you because you're a woman now, and I want to be married to a man." What? So are trans women men or are they women? And my own personal answer to that question is both. Okay, trans people are. This is just a fact. Okay, I'm gonna say this for you. You can quote me on this, but for the record, trans people, they are men and women in unique ways because you can be a man biologically, but psychologically a woman, and you can be biologically a woman, but psychologically a man. Because biological sex is real, I get that, but so is gender identity. That is also real. And I think about these things a lot because I don't really have that many people to talk to about this. Um, but I think about this. I really think about this because this has intersections with all kinds of things. The reason the transgender topic is so interesting, I mean, I didn't mean to get involved in all this, but this is just kind of my random thoughts. Um, but I'll get back to the reputation thing later. But see, on the one hand, people will say that, gender identity is not real because it's all in your head. And yet, your emotions, I mean, your emotions, your thoughts and your feelings, like it's all happening psychologically. It's all happening in your own mind, soul, experience, whatever you call it. It is an internal thing which cannot be objectively measured with any scientific method, whereas physical body parts can. So here, on the one hand, yes, it's good for people to be real about biological facts that can be measured scientifically. You can measure the weight of something, the length of something. You can do experiments of trial and error and find out things. So on the one hand, there's physical science, but on the other hand, there's also the psychological science. But there's biology and there's psychology. And most of the time, people's biology and psychology corresponds. Like, it's similar enough that you can view them as an integrated person. But at the same time, there are so many things that don't fit that category. People who are transgender have a very different psychological experience than biological experience. And people with dissociative identity disorder, they can have multiple personalities that all share the same body. And if you don't understand dissociative identity disorder, then, well, you're not alone. Not that many people understand it. And this is where it gets really strange, because since I was talking earlier about, honesty and trustworthiness and a reputation, here is a little bit of a situation, because what if somebody means to be honest? What if somebody is well-intentioned and they do intend to keep their promises, but there are other parts of them that fight against that? This is where it's strange, because there are multiple aspects to each person, and so I feel like there are times where one personality is telling you the truth, but then the other personality doesn't follow through. And because in society, people are expected to function as one unit. Like, we think of people as one individual unit. we assume that their body and their mind, that it's all one person. But they could have one body, we all have one body, but they could have multiple different personalities of several different ages, and this is a very real phenomenon that I've experienced, um, and it makes it very strange because when somebody, like, here's the thing is, because we live in society, because we live in a culture where we have coworkers, we have family, we have friends, we have various people in our lives, and since what everyone does affects everyone else, it gets very hard to navigate. We've got billions of humans on this planet, and they're all doing different things, all fighting among each other, and there's even the internal war. There's the internal war. Like, okay, I experience an internal war all the time. Okay, let me explain something. So, for example, today at work, we had some stuffed animals on the counter. There was some stuffed animals, that came in, and some of them were very cute. Like, there's these little blue sloths. They're like these stuffed animal sloths, and they're very soft and they're very cute. But I remember this one customer saw uh, saw these sloths, and they're blue, and she said, "Well, that better be a boy." And I said, "Wait, is she saying that the sloths had better be boys?" And then I was thinking, does she mean because they're blue? And I was thinking, I didn't say it, but I was thinking at the time, well, we don't know the gender identity of the sloths because we haven't asked them. Like, come on, who's qualified to know the gender identity of a stuffed animal? But there are things that like that I don't say, but I'm thinking. There's a lot that I hear things people say, and I don't say anything a lot of the time. There are times when someone will be joking about something, and then I'll join in with their joke. But there's a lot of times I hear people saying something, but I don't say anything, you know? And that's an example of the internal war, because you have a thought, and you're thinking, you hear something, and your reaction, you feel something, you're thinking something, but you can't say it because if you say that thing that you're going to piss off either your coworkers or customers. And that's the thing about it. That's totally the thing about it, is that there's always an internal war between our instant gut reaction and then what we actually do, because we have fear that bad things will happen if we do act on our impulse. So there's the internal war all the time, and I experience that, and for good reason sometimes. I mean, it is good to hold your tongue in situations like that. In fact, I don't do that enough, because I say a lot of things I end up regretting, as anyone who watches my videos will know. But there's that internal war with all of us. And um, one thing that I really do miss about when River and I lived together — we can't live together anymore because I can't trust River, but oh, we had some good times. We really had some good times, and I'll always cherish those times, because when I was living with River, I would just say exactly what I thought, exactly how I felt. No filter, no filter whatsoever, you know? And so I would just say that when River did something that was me, I would just say how I felt about that. I felt hurt. I felt like I didn't like being lied to, and stuff like that. I would just come out and say it. And then there were other things like where, you know, I would come home from work and something funny would happen. And so I would tell River, oh, well, this person at work said this, and then I said this, and then it was funny, stuff like that. When to have a roommate to come home to that I could just tell all my funny things to. Of course, well, now there's always my mom. I tell my mom a lot of funny things that happen at work too. But that that feeling of having somebody that you can be comfortable with, where you feel like you can just tell them anything, but they'll still be your friend. That is so exceptionally rare, and it makes me kind of sad to think that at this time, I only have 3 people who I really trust. There's my mom, Pafo, and Jamie. People that I may not always even agree with about things, but that we can still be nice to each other, even when we do have little disagreements about things. That's what's cool about it, because not everybody has complete agreement of religion and politics and gender identity and all these things, but when you have people in your life that um, you can just totally, you can just totally trust them. Imagine having people like that in your life that that you can talk to them about anything. That's exceptionally rare. And I just think about it because there are many times when I had people in the past that I thought were my friends. But then as soon as they found out a certain thing about me that they didn't like, then they would just kind of freak out and reject me, you know? And I mean, I don't want to name names. I really don't want to name names because that would just cause more drama, which I don't need to do. But hey, if anybody is listening to it and you are one of these people that I've had issues with, um, then you'll probably know that I'm talking about you, because there's some people I've had some issues with in the past, with River just being the most recent one. And hopefully we can remain friends at a distance until River gets his shit together. I really hope so, but I do think about River a lot. So River, if you do hear this, I love you, but I don't know how to proceed with our friendship. But anyway, I want to get back to the topic of a reputation. And I was just thinking about how, as long as someone is honest, you can work out everything else. But when you can't trust a person to tell you the truth, you can't resolve anything. So, to take a very specific example, I don't think that, for example, people should divorce each other, or I don't think people should quit being roommates or quit being friends, or I don't think people should disown their family members over a disagreement in religion or politics or some other thing like that. I don't think these things are good enough of a reason to break a relationship. I don't. Not at all. The only thing that I think that really ends a relationship is when you no longer trust someone because they no longer have an honest reputation. When you find out that somebody's been lying to you, um, then you have a really hard time trusting them. And that trust can be built back, but sometimes it can take years to build back the trust with somebody after they've lied to you. It's really hard to build back that trust. And I recently had a situation with a certain individual, not naming names, but you'll know who you are, where they felt that I deceived them, um, because they were saying that I was they were saying that I I'm gay and that I lied to them about being asexual. And that is not what happened. But I was thinking about it. I've been seriously thinking about it. And while on the one hand, I did not lie, I also do understand that sometimes as a person like me is discovering themselves, they might seem more one way, but then as they discover more of who they are, they're radically different. And I think it's safe to say that I am not by any means the same person that I was many years ago. Think about it. I'm 35, and 25-year-old me was a very different than 35-year-old me. So 10 years ago, I was a very different person. Like I didn't know about, I mean, I was vegetarian. I didn't know about veganism yet. I had just come out of Christianity, and I didn't know what I believed. I still don't, but that's another story. And there was a lot that I was just figuring out. Like I was starting my whole life over from scratch, when I was 25. And when I was 25 is when I first got my first job at Hy-Vee, actually. And let's go back even further. When I was 15, what did I know? When I was 15, all I really remember from that time is playing down in the woods near the creek where I used to live, and or getting beat up by kids at church. And that was really awkward because most of them were the pastor's kids. It's crazy. Or let's go back even further to when I was 5 years old. Oh man, when I was 5 years old, all I ever really thought about was playing with sticks and video games and stuffed animals and I used to play with some toy cars that I think I inherited from my brother or whatever. Yeah, I had those Hot Wheels thing and I had a track and stuff. So I remember a lot of things I did when I was 5 years old. I remember how I used to climb trees and stuff. But we changed throughout our lives. I am a very different person at 35 than I was at 25, 15, 5, like seriously. So sometimes people do change, and I think I've changed for the better overall, although some think I'm changing for the worse. Well, we shall see because life ain't over. It ain't over till the fat lady sings. So I just think about all these things. I have a lot of thoughts on my mind, and so I like to get my thoughts off my chest. I just like to let it all out because that's the thing about me is I'm being honest about things because that's just how I am. When I'm not at work and I'm on my own time, I have that privilege of just being honest and saying how I feel about things. And sometimes it gets weird. Sometimes it gets weird because I have controversial opinions here. But in this video, I am kind of being intentionally vague about some things because I'm speaking generally right now. I'm speaking generally just about how important it is to have honest people in your life. And right now, at this stage of my life, one of the things I need to work on is I need to talk to the good people in my life more often. I need to talk to my valuable friends, and I can think of some people I need to talk to that I haven't talked to recently, and it's hard. It's hard in an adult life because when there is when you have a few friends in your life, but then you have a lot of other people that you talk to as well, on a regular basis, especially with social media and all that, it gets complicated. But I'm a person who likes to talk to a lot of different people. While I would say I have very few people who I consider close friends, like if I need to talk to somebody about something serious, like there's very few people that I feel like I could talk to that I could trust. It goes back to trust once again. But when talking about just general things, what if I'm talking about video games or I'm talking about, philosophy, there's a lot of different people that I'm going to disagree with things on. But I do enjoy it. Like, take, for example, how I used to do the Free Will Science and Religion podcast. And I've even been thinking about reviving that. I've even been thinking about, getting back together with co-hosts and doing a few more episodes of that show because that was fun. It was fun talking about the illusion of free will and how it impacts other topics as well. Though that part of that reason that ended was because there were some very strong political disagreements, and me being the sensitive type that I am, I got really offended at some things that people were telling me that I had to vote for example. But it also builds great strength when you do have to resolve conflicts with people. So I think it's good to have people that you absolutely trust, and as well as people that you don't trust, but you're at just a safe distance enough from that you don't get too emotionally invested. And that's the way I try to be. I try to not get too emotionally invested in people if I don't feel like I can 100% trust them. Like, even coworkers that I get along with, like, people quit jobs and get other jobs, and then you don't see them anymore. You know what I'm saying? Just and people. Now, I never went to high school, but people who are in high school think that they're going to be friends with their high school people forever. It doesn't happen because they leave high school, they go off to colleges in different states, they end up getting married and having kids and having different careers, and they don't even know each other's contact information anymore. That's just the reality of being an adult. You lose contact with a lot of people. It's one thing when you go to the same school or church as someone, or you work with someone in your same company, and you just happen to see them like very frequently. So then you get to know them just as a consequence of the fact that they're there. But when people are at a distance, it takes special effort. Like, you have to make a conscious effort to really try to, stop in once in a while and say, hey, how's it going? What's going on in life? Want to catch up? That kind of thing. It's hard to do that. And that's one of the things I know I need to work on because I'm really bad at that. Because usually I just come home after work and I'm just exhausted. And so I just, will just eat, maybe play a video game and then just go to bed. But I don't really talk to anyone. So it's something I need to work on. But yeah. But when you do find people in your life that you can trust, like, you might disagree with them, you might have personal conflicts with some things, but if you know that that person will tell you the truth and that they'll do what they promise to do, hold on to that person, keep that person, because people like that are exceptionally rare. Exceptionally rare. Like, just to put things in perspective, people who are honest are more rare than gay people. They're more rare than transgender people. They're more rare than asexual people. That they are so very rare, people who are honest, because most humans in this world are liars. Most of them don't even keep their promises. Most of them don't even mean what they say. They say things that they think people want to hear, but they don't mean it. And I've learned to be a lot less trusting of people because I've been hurt in some ways by some people. But I want other people to be honest with me. If I ever forget to keep a promise to you, or if I say something that really hurts your feelings, I want you to be honest with me and tell me, because I will admit when I've done things wrong. And I definitely have admitted when I've done things wrong before. So I just want people to know that. Anybody I've had trouble with in the past, you can talk to me, because that's the one thing about me that I'll always have. Because people get older, their bodies change, their financial status changes, people even die. But the one thing that does not change as long as I'm alive is that I'm honest. And that is what makes me special. That is the number one thing about me that I think people will agree on, is that I'm just honest. I speak my mind exactly what I'm thinking. And I get into trouble too sometimes. Um, but that's it. So I think that just about wraps up what I was meaning to say tonight about having an honest reputation. So, what do you people say? Do you value somebody who's honest? Do you think it's important, like I think it's important? Well, you can always comment later if you want to. As for now, I'm gonna end the stream and I'm gonna chill for tonight and relax a little bit before I go to sleep and then work again tomorrow. So, good night, everybody. Be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.